Hey everybody, this is Sasquatchers episode 21. Andrew and John here. Tonight we are being uh I'm gonna say
Good job. Got it. There it
no,
is.
hold on.
We're being
I
graced by the presence of Kenny Biddle from skepticalinquirer.org.
I wanted to make a Carl Sagan reference and I got lost in it, but I won't admit it.
The truth is out there. Never stop looking. Never be sheep. Always disrupt. We are the ungovernable. We are the truth seekers. We are Sasquatchers.
Welcome to Sasquatchers, where there are no take twos, everybody. I am Andrew, that is John, and tonight we are... All right.
Kenny.
So this is...
I'm sorry, I missed my mark.
This is Kenny Biddle, and he is from the Skeptical Inquirer. And before I continue to stumble over words, because I was thrown off by some trolls 2 minutes before we started recording, I'm going to go ahead and let him take over the introduction.
Oh, that's good. So yeah, my name is Kenny Biddle. I am the chief investigator for the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, which is the my parent company is the Center for Inquiry, based in Buffalo, New York. That's where I am, and we publish two magazines: Skeptical Inquirer magazine, which I usually publish in, and then Free Inquiry, which deals with secular humanism and religion and stuff like that. That's on the other side. So I have been investigating paranormal claims 25 some years. And I have a background in mechanical. I'm auto mechanic, aerospace, medical field. I have run the gambit of different skills and learned them over the years and have dozens of certifications in all those fields. And I started writing for Skeptical Inquirer magazine about maybe like 15 years ago, just doing freelance work. And the more I did, the more they enjoyed it, and they wanted me to do more for them. So I started doing lectures for them, traveling around. I speak at their annual science conference in Las Vegas called SciCon. And since then, they hired me on full time. I've been here for about a year. And this is my full-time job. I investigate paranormal claims as a job. I mean, this is the greatest freaking job in the world. I love it. And I have the freedom to really research, learn. I mean, that's the best thing. I learn things every single day. And it's amazing. And I get to meet people like you guys and just hang out and talk, have a good conversation. I get to learn what you guys believe or think and how you think. And it's just amazing. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's a pretty cool nutshell, if I'm being honest. I'm pretty jealous of everything that you just said, actually. That is a pretty wicked full-time job.
All right, college boy.
Oh, I'm also a Star Wars geek, if you haven't noticed.
I can tell.
Yeah.
We might have to talk about Star Wars a little bit, since the topic is skepticism, because I'm skeptical it'll ever be good again.
Oh. Oh, we're gonna have some words later.
But first, you're gonna crush all my hopes and dreams that I'm visited by aliens and Bigfoot. And in order to do that, let's maybe get to how this all started. Where did you start to become interested in this field? You said that you have a background that was maybe a little more, scientific or collegiate than the paranormal side of things. So I'm just curious, how was it just vague interest or inspiration by like a Carl Sagan figure or something like that?
It was a mistake, basically. Years ago, I was a ghost hunter. I was on a ghost hunting team. I went out and I did basically what you see on TV. I did all that stuff where you turn out the lights and you play with gadgets that I really didn't know how they worked, but I saw it on TV. So must work. So I used them. I told people their houses were haunted or their businesses were haunted. And I did that for a few years until I went to one of the early conferences, paranormal, actually just a ghost conference in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And it was, I'm talking like 2002, maybe, that I went there, and I went out to the battlefields, and basically this a long story, but I'm going to try and shorten it here for you. Basically, I went out to a spot with a group of people I knew after the conference. We heard from the Rangers that it was supposed to be really haunted, and it was a secret spot. They don't even go to it. So we went, obviously, because that's what we do. Got there, and after a while, we saw some cars pull up from different people, and they got out. They started making noise. They started coming towards us, and I got pissed off because I was like, they're gonna invade our turf, man. Like, they're coming on our territory. This was our spot. So I marched out of the woods, and if you're familiar with Gettysburg, we were right by the wheat field. So there's a field hospital right next to the wheat field, and the field hospital is in a wooded area, and the wheat field is open. It's an open plain. So I walked out of the woods. I screamed at them, and take note that this is like 8 o'clock at night, so it's dark. So I come out. I yell at them. I tell them to go away, get away. I don't know exactly what I said, but I yelled at them. Basically, this, piss off. They ran back to the cars. Like, they stopped dead, then turned around, ran back to their cars. That's it. I was like, great. That's awesome. The next morning, we go back down to the conference area, and we hear about a group of people that saw an apparition the night before. They start talking about it, and I realized that they're talking about me. And I approached them and told them, like, I think you saw me coming out of the woods. And they were like, no, we didn't see you. We saw a ghost. And I said, well, I described their cars, their clothing, what equipment they had, how many there were, I even what they were talking about, all of this stuff. And they were still like, no, it wasn't you. We saw a ghost. And finally, one of them said, stop trying to steal our spotlight. And I did the same thing. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and that flipped the switch in my head. Like, all of these times, how many times did I go out? And I mean, they are ignoring basic information. Like, they're being handed, spoon-fed this information that explains an experience, which is what we're supposed to do. We call ourselves investigators. We're supposed to investigate and solve a mystery, not keep promoting our preferred conclusion because, that's our belief. That's not what we do. We're supposed to investigate. So here they are trying to ride this wave of popularity and the spotlight, and they're ignoring all the information that explains it. So it made me think, like, how many times have I done this? How many times did I ignore information because I really wanted to believe something was true? And it also made me look at other ghost hunters and believers and self-styled paranormal investigators in a different light. Like, are they really doing what they claim to do? Was I really doing what I claim to do? And that got me into more of the skeptical literature. I started finding work of people like Ben Radford and Joe Nickel, who both write for this magazine. That turned me on to Skeptical Inquirer magazine. And the Skeptical Inquirer doesn't just do paranormal topics. They started back in the 70s. A lot of their topics were paranormal related, psychics and tarot readings and stuff like that. But then they've gradually grown out to other sciences. And now they cover a wide gambit of different sciences and different topics. So the more I read the magazine, the more I learned about biology and chemistry and physics and all of this, which is amazing. And it really opened my eyes up and also got me into photography. I love photography. I never did it professionally. Well, I did it semi-professionally. I was doing family portraits. I was doing product photography, stuff like that. And that gave me the experience to understand all these photos, the majority of the photos that people present as ghosts or the blurry Bigfoot or the UFO or alien stuff, I was seeing camera effects. I was seeing operator error. I was seeing techniques that are used by photographers to create effects that were being done by accident by amateurs that didn't understand what they were doing. And that just made me thirsty for more knowledge. And I kept learning and kept learning. And as I mentioned before we started the show, I have a vintage camera collection from like 1904 all the way up to present day. All film, plate photography, digital, discs, Kodak discs, if you're old enough to remember those things.
I think I remember them.
I have a ton of Polaroids, and I've shot just about every one of them. So I could understand how they work, what they do. They all work, which is great. And it just gives me a better understanding of what people are, the equipment that they're using. Because I'm a big proponent of know your equipment. If you go out to investigate something, you should know every piece of equipment, what it does, how it works, how to properly interpret the data that's coming off of that. Or you shouldn't be taking it with you. So that's a long-winded story. I mean, and that's the short version.
That's okay. We've had conversations where there's 30 minutes before we even interject because the guest is saying something super interesting, and selfishly, that's why I have this show, so that I can learn and talk, and people listen to it, and that's awesome. And I think it's cool that people have allowed me to be part of their lives like that. But ultimately, I'm here just to have a little collection of people that talk to me and teach me things. So I don't mind that at all. So next time, if you want to go 30, go 30.
It's really a weird fetish.
It is. It's the strangest.
I do find it hard to believe that you're a skeptic, though, whenever you have a Bigfoot and a snowman right behind you.
Well, the Bigfoot and Yeti.
Sorry, snowman, Yeti.
Snowman, Yeti. I put out just for you guys. They're usually up top. I mean, there's a space for them up right. Wait, that way, right there. That's where they sit.
You hang them from the fan.
Yeah. And I mean, I have displays. So I mentioned, this before the show, I mentioned I'm at work. So this is my office at work. And part of my job is actually giving tours when people show up and putting on display some of the artifacts from many of my investigations. So I have stuff, there's probably a dozen or so display cases out beyond this wall. We have a huge seminar room. And there's things on display from allegedly haunted dolls. I have a weeping statue that cried oil that I made, just to show that it can be done. It can be done by people, because it usually is. I have oh my gosh, I have a Dybbuk box, if you know what that is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I have a whole history on that if you want to talk about that later. But I have all these artifacts out there, and I have a Bigfoot display. So I have a casting. It's a replica of the Patterson Gimlin footprint. So I have that out there. I have a few books. I have a Bigfoot knocker, the tree knocker kind of thing, like an official novelty kind of thing, and a few other items out there. So, I mean, even though I'm a skeptic, I found that most skeptics that I work with in this kind of genre, we are the biggest collectors of this kind of stuff. I would put my collection up against almost anyone that would be on the quote unquote believer side, because I have just so much. I love going to places. I go to Mothman Festival. I bought a whole bunch of stuff. Now I have a big display out there. Bigfoot conferences, I've been to those. I just love buying the stuff, keep me away from a gift shop, because it's
almost an addiction. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's funny you mention it, but Sasquatchers does have an official merchandise webpage I can share with you. A little bit later.
There it is.
We do, in fact, have Christmas tree ornaments and wrapping paper available.
This is
Not,
this is
not to
Andrew.
get
This is Andrew Grifty over here.
not to get too
So-
sidetracked, but do I see a mystery machine in the back left?
Yeah.
You do. So up here, there's
Oh,
one.
there's two.
There's one there. There's one right here. Where else is there? There is.
I'm more concerned about the minion.
I didn't even
You can see
that.
the minion. Oh, there
I
he
can
is.
see-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is so much to see in my background because I am a big collector of all things. I mean, I have the manual for the recently deceased from Beetlejuice.
Nice.
I love stuff. My Bigfoot shelf in here is right there. So I have like a mini Lego Bigfoot. I have these are some of my books on it, but I also have like figures. I have a can of beer that says Sasquatch on it, and then like Bigfoot tracker novelties and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's an interesting topic. It's always been an interesting topic.
Yeah.
So,
Well, can we see your knockers?
For
I would-
me,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say that's the actual knockers are locked up, so I'd have to go get them. But
I mean, I would keep them locked up too.
Yeah,
me too.
I was gonna say for me, like, as silly as it sounds, I think most of the interest that I have in these topics literally comes from watching Scooby Doo. And one of my first logos that I did for the show is a knockoff mystery machine. You know, I have
So-
stickers and stuff made for it.
Yeah, we got sued big time about that.
I'm gonna show you.
He's showing the
I
knockers,
love-
guys. Focus.
So there you
Oh
go.
yeah.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I have the whole mystery machine and the whole gang. I love Scooby Doo. I mean, I usually call this Scooby Doo Studios, but not officially. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty around here. I actually have a huge plush Scooby Doo that's on the side of the camera that you can't see, but I have
That's
it all over the place. I even
It's
have a
extremely fitting.
little guy here.
Nice. Because I mean, ultimately, when you watch most, like 90% of Scooby Doo, it's always somebody under a mask or a hologram or
Right.
Some old
something
guy.
to that effect. So even that, I guess, lends kind of the seed to grow for skepticism and the
Yes.
wonder of how they do that. So
It
That-
does. That show promoted critical thinking. It promoted skepticism. Let me give you my definition of this. All right. So this is how I see skepticism. It's basically having doubt about a claim, usually an extraordinary claim. You're not sure about it. Somebody comes up to you and says, "I was abducted by aliens." Now, I mean, unless you're a full-on believer or drunk, you're not going to believe them right away. You're gonna kind of look and be like, okay, why do you think that? And right there, that's skepticism, because you have some doubt and you want to see something, you want to see some evidence, you want to see the data. So that's where I apply skepticism when I hear extraordinary claims about creatures that haven't been found to exist yet, or afterlife things, ghosts, spirits, demons, what have you. UFOs coming down and leaving imprints in someone's yard, or anal probes and stuff. I mean, that last part probably does happen somewhere, but I have doubts, and all I want to do is see the evidence. I want to see why you believe this to be true, and is it sufficient to warrant a belief in it, and to agree and say, yes, this is true. So that's where critical thinking comes in. Critical thinking is taking the information and looking at it, taking a really close look, not just accepting things at face value, taking it, looking at it, fact checking it. I mean, that's the first thing. When somebody tells me an extraordinary claim, I want to start asking questions. And this is the start of critical thinking. You're asking questions about details. You want clarification. All right, where did you get this verified? Oh, okay, this organization or this professor or this scientist. Okay, can I have their name? So like for me, one of the biggest things is when someone sends me a photograph of anything, like a Bigfoot or a ghost, usually a ghost, or an alien, that they claim, yes, I had this authenticated or I had this verified. My first question is always, who did that? Who verified it? Can I have a name and contact information? Because I want to contact them and find out why they believed this is true. So all of this comes together: skepticism, the critical thinking, and then you add in a dash of science, where we have published materials all over. I mean, this thing, which is a nice Ouija board cover there, but this phone is the most powerful tool that we have because we can look up anything. It's also the most dangerous tool because we can look up anything. You know, if you have a belief, you can find tons of crap out there that supports that belief, whether it's wrong or not.
I feel like guns are probably more powerful, but yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, if you have a problem with somebody, or if you're curious about somebody that's on the other side of the planet,
I'm getting a plane ticket and taking my gun.
I can look them up from here. I don't have to move.
Well, you give me their address and then I'll go.
See, they don't have to move. You know, but this is where all this critical thinking comes in, to help you figure out what's going on. Ask the right questions. Clarify the questions. Look at the little details. Details matter. Details freaking matter. So even small details can make a huge difference when you're investigating a claim. And I can't stress that enough. Yeah.
But I have a question. So people send you photos and then you do your investigation. Is that, you know, how you then incorporate this camera collection that you have? Do you try then to replicate it like a Mythbuster kind of situation where, you know, you take that exact style of camera, try to replicate that photograph, and then kind of use that to demonstrate how it isn't what they think it is?
So I try, it really depends on the photo, because a lot of photos you get now, people took on their phone. So I do try to figure out what phone that they use, because that it's also important, because even like when you look at the back of my phone, you have 3 camera lenses in a row here, and then the flash, oh my God, I'm so backwards. The flash is right there in the middle. So that will throw shadows in different directions depending on which lens is being used. And if you have a different camera, the flash might be on the other side. So this is creating a difference between them. So I try to figure out what phone they're using, if that's what the case is, because usually people don't have cameras anymore. You know, unless it's built into their phone, they don't have a standalone camera. So, but some people do. And you still get pictures, you get prints from people that took a photo like 30, 40, 50 years ago, or even 100 years ago. And when something like that comes up, I do want to try to get the same camera. That drives me because I'm so driven. I really have like an undiagnosed ADHD, because I get so like, I got to find out exactly what model, what make, because the same make and model of camera can change from year to year, depending on like Kodak and Polaroid. They change things every single year. So I can go up to my collection of cameras, look and find the exact one, and then say, all right, can I get film for this? Yeah, I can get film for that. Great. Let me take a few shots, test shots. But on the other hand, a lot of these anomalies that you see in photographs are common. They have common causes, and I can usually recognize them right away. When you have your classic orbs, I don't like orbs. They are the bane of my existence. But there's common things that cause them. Bugs, dust particles. You can have out of focus lights that are just way in the distance. And if you're focused on something 5 feet from the camera, a street light 50 feet, 60 feet behind you is going to appear out of focus. You can have lens flare. There's a bunch of different things that can cause little orbs. And these are common occurrences. These are so common that I have literally hundreds and hundreds of examples of each one.
Right.
So like when I get sent a still photo from a security camera, I usually ask for the video clip, because usually there's a video clip, and you get those, and sometimes you'll see this little orb, and it doesn't go across the screen like that. It usually goes like this. It stops, it turns, goes this way, maybe goes around, it goes around. And that's a bug on the lens, because you have that protective dome that's on the front of the security camera. And there's a tiny little bug that landed on it and decided to walk around and figure out. And you could almost see the legs moving around, but they're just too blurry to actually see. But you can see the movements, and you get accustomed to that. So the more I've seen it, and I have dozens and dozens of videos of just that. One of the things I do here, we have an older section of this building, this office building, that is not in use. And I've set up 8 security cameras down there, and they're constantly recording. And every other day, every 3 days, I go down and I look, and it's just set for motion trigger. So I go through all the motion trigger video clips, and I look at them. And if I see a bug crawling across the lens, if I see a spider, if I see dust particles, whatever, I save those clips and I put them in different folders so I have examples to show later. So yeah, I mean, basically, I like cameras anyway, so I'm going to buy them. I go to flea markets. That's a little tidbit about me. I love flea markets. I am a flea market whore. I will go to any flea market as soon as I hear about it, and I'll look. And one of the things I look for are vintage cameras. I keep a full inventory of what I have on my phone, so I don't buy doubles. But I'll go looking for different ones, different models, and if someone sends me a particular photograph, I will try to find the same camera that they used. Just because you don't know. There might be some kind of feature on that camera that was unique to that model and caused the anomaly. And one thing, like one example I can give you, is that for the longest time, people said you could never do a double exposure with a Polaroid camera. So we're talking like the rainbow camera, the white ones. You push the button and comes out.
Yeah.
You could not do it. And for years, like, I knew there was a trick. There's a trick that you can do where you unlock the film compartment, but you keep it closed, and you push the button, but you open it at the same time, and it prevents it from spitting out the film pack. And then you actually take another picture, and then you close it, and it comes out. But my coworker here is also into vintage cameras, and he had picked up 2 Polaroids, and one of them does it by itself. So every time you push the shutter button, it takes a photo, but it doesn't spit it out until you push the shutter button again. Then it spits it out, and you get a double exposure. So I don't know what modification was done, if any, or if it's just got a broken roller. But I keep trying to buy it off him, but he won't sell it.
Yeah, and then so with that, then pretty much every photograph you take would then almost appear to have something paranormal happening to each and every picture that it spit out.
Well, most of us are used to double exposures. Either growing up, we saw old photographs or old photo albums from our parents or grandparents. So most of us have seen what a double exposure looks like. And I'm talking like the classic one where it's 2 completely different scenes that are laid over each other. And you can see like, oh, that's a living room with, my parents in it having Thanksgiving dinner. And then this picture is, in the kitchen with my mom cooking and this and that. So completely different scenes. But yeah, if you get the right conditions, if you get a time, say like you go out to a cemetery at night, so it's dark, you're using a flash, the flash bar on them, and you take a photo of someone walking in the cemetery, most of the picture will be dark. So if it doesn't spit it out right away and you turn around and take a picture of somebody else, or you take a picture and there's nobody in there, then that empty space will actually cause the figure that you took the picture of in the first one to become transparent. And that's an amazing effect. And if you take it on a Polaroid, it becomes so much more believable because Polaroids aren't supposed to double expose, you know. And if you present that to somebody, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, you know what's going on here? It's a Polaroid. Holy crap!" But there's subtle things that you can look for, subtle little details that you might be able to spot. But I mean, in the best case scenario, it would be very difficult to figure out it was a double exposure.
Right. Well, while we're on the subject here of photographs, I'm just going to share just a tiny tidbit from my own experience.
Have you ever heard the song "Photograph" by Nickelback?
No, I don't listen to Nickelback.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thanks for your contributions, John.
You're welcome.
Just halt my story dead to reference that band. So first or second gen digital camera, I can't remember what. This is definitely early 2000s, before I graduated high school. So definitely like in the 2002 to 2005 range. I had a lot of influences in the paranormal from my friend's dad. And he said that, you know, he has this haunted land, and there's a farm, old farmhouse barn. He has like this guy that walks around that's a ghost, always has like this top hat on, carrying an axe kind of thing. And it was just fun. We'd hang out with him, we'd hit graveyards up, or there'd be like these areas where we would sit and you could you supposedly hear footsteps and all of these things that you immediately, when you start to critically think, you start having answers for. But as a young, adolescent, you try to convince yourself that it is what it is. And one day he has this picture and taken from this digital camera, and I remember taking that camera and copying the photo onto the computer at our house so that I could just study this thing. And man, I'll tell you what, I've never seen a more convincing photograph of a ghost in my entire life. And it's just this room that's in this farmhouse. And of course there's orbs, and any self-respecting researcher, like you said, immediately discredits an orb. But in this window, you could see clear as day, and I mean clear as day. There's a person. He looks like he's from the early 1900s. He has a monocle. There's a mustache involved. There's a child next to him, and you didn't even have to have anybody kind of implant it into your head that this is what you're looking for. It was the most incredible, clear as day picture that I've ever seen. So we all went out and we were going to do an investigation of this farmhouse. And so my cousins and even my uncle, and it's this whole family affair. We go out, we take a Ouija board, we take cameras, we get into the house. We don't go in until it's dark. We messed around outside until then. We get in, there's no electricity. We everybody takes their own room. I'll go downstairs, you go upstairs. And then not even a couple of minutes in, my cousin comes down and he's like, I was up in this room and I see the guy. I saw the guy in the picture. Do you want to come see? And he was exhausted by the fact that this now had an answer. So we go up and we shine our flashlight on the window, and you could see it on the window because we knew where to look for those images that we had seen. It's just perfect dust particles on this window that even in person, weeks later, had that image of this man and a younger child next to him. So I have experienced firsthand kind of that gamut of here's an extraordinary photograph. How is this possible? To the excitement of, all right, we're going to go out and we're going to figure this out. And the almost being deflated having figured it out. So
Right. That's
like,
that's an amazing story to have, because I mean, you think about it. There's a lot of things to think about. One, I mean, you're talking. I don't. When you're talking like 2002 or something, you're still about like 3 or 4 years into digital cameras, because like the Sony Mavicas came out in '97. So you still have low quality though. You're only talking about like 1, 2, or maybe 3 megapixel, probably like 1.2 megapixel probably was the going rate there. So you have a crappy image to start with. But the big thing that stands out to me is that if you went there a couple weeks later, imagine if somebody just decided, I'm going to clean the window, or was just there one night and was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to draw my name into it and messed up that image. You would never know. You would never have an explanation for it because the original data was gone. So that's a cool story. Cool story, bro. Where it's like that's a good lesson in, you really need to get back there as soon as possible. And anything, I mean, that's one of the things that comes up a lot when I'm talking to either like ghost hunters or investigators, when they say, oh, I got this picture and a few days later I went back and looked at it, or it took me a week or so to look at the photos. And I'm always like, no, that's completely wrong. You take photographs, you need to look at them right then. You need to get them onto a laptop. You need to look at them. If any experience happens, when you hear a noise or you see something down the hall, you have to investigate it then, real time. So like when that photo was taken, and they were not, when the photo was originally taken, I assume they're not ghost hunting. Or were
right. Well, I really don't remember that part. I know that they hung out there all the time and they had all of these amazing stories about how it was haunted, but it wasn't specifically like they were out there collecting
Right.
evidence or anything like that. I think they just
Okay.
took a picture of this room that, he was always constantly like fixing it up, building it. And,
Okay.
so I think it was almost like a progress report kind of photograph.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because that it was such a astonishingly clear image to everyone who looked at it, like it just jumped out immediately. And it was
cool.
like they just rushed right over to show us how cool it was. And yeah, it
Do you
was
still
cool.
have it?
I might have it somewhere on like an old disc.
I would love to see that, just to see. Now I'm curious. It's a really cool story, and now I'm curious. Like,
Yeah.
what was this image that was so convincing? I would love to be able to see that.
I might have to use the Wayback Machine, but I
Oh, yeah.
100% had it on MySpace.
Oh, that's
no.
coming back.
if I can find the old MySpace stuff,
Okay.
I might be able to access it that way. If I do always hoard all of my discs and my thumb drives and stuff too. So I might have it sitting somewhere. I'll look for it and see if I can find it for you. Because yeah, man, it was incredible. It was like looking at the Monopoly guy just in the window.
That's funny.
So that kind of leads me to my next experience. I'll put it that way, because I'm curious how you would analyze the data and what your opinion of it is. Okay. So right off the bat, immediately, from a skeptical standpoint, I feel like there's red flags because this happened. All right. Well, to preface this is a UFO sighting. Okay.
Okay.
Now, it did occur on July 4th. And that's the reason I took note of it, because when we saw it, I thought it was a firework. I thought it was like a Chinese lantern. So
what year? This year?
2017. So I guess early generation of home use drones as well could also find an explanation in this. But so we're in the town. This is the town that I live in. I hadn't lived in it yet. We were at a house party and I was walking back to my buddy's house, and he was with me. And so I just see this light, okay, and it kind of just real slowly starts to like float up, kind of over the tree line. And I mean, I couldn't really give you a distance. It's far enough away that it's right on the outskirts of town. And it just kind of floats. And I'm like, oh, dude, check it out. Somebody's setting off fireworks. So we stop, and it's what I would call like an orb as far as ufology goes. It's circle,
Okay.
just a ball of white light kind of. And then, like I said, it stopped right there, just in the air, like a Chinese lantern would. And then it didn't do anything. And it just hung there, and it hung there, and it hung there. And then it like dispersed into three. So now there's three orb lights, like, and then they start kind of dancing around each other and almost doing like an 8 pattern. And then that 8 pattern spreads and it goes farther and farther. And then they're dispersed away from each other, but they're all just kind of moving. And it seemed aimless to me. And we couldn't figure it out. And my jaw dropped, and I was like, these are not fireworks. But I have no idea what we're looking at. And we just continued to walk to his house while this is happening. And when we got there, his roommate had also been watching it and saw it from a different perspective. They were driving into town, so they saw it like from the opposite side as like we did, and that was what they had seen too, just from the opposite end. And then it did that for about 45 minutes, and then they eventually kind of like came back into one, and then just disappeared. And to follow that up, I reached out to MUFON because, as far as I'm aware, MUFON kind of looks at these from a scientific perspective. They're not trying to say that what you saw was a spacecraft with an alien, but rather they try to find the things that could have caused it. And the MUFON researcher got back to me and said that based on his research, there were no like approved drone things, because this was right around the time where you had to have like a license because people were going too high and hitting planes and stuff. So he had looked into any type of drones. He had looked into aircraft. There were nothing. I actually think I still might even have his email somewhere, but based on his research, there was nothing clear cut that he could identify what had occurred. And so that's as far as I know. I didn't do any of that follow up myself, but I'm curious, with that information, what is your opinion or your take on it?
So the first impression that I got was that it might be lights. It might be spotlights, because it is 4th of July, and it might be those I don't know what they're called exactly, but when they have 4 lights, 3 or 4 or 5 lights that do a pattern, they shine up, they turn them on, and usually at carnivals, and they go around and do different patterns.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my first impression. Again, not being able to see this, not just going off of your description, but not being able to see it physically. I'm taking a guess that this might be something that's plausible. It's also, now we're going on about 6 years old, this memory is. So I'm not sure exactly what it is. Yes, if drones were in use, which they were, you still need a license. Depending on the drone, you still need a license to fly them. Because some of them are commercial, and also flying by airports. There weren't as many rules back then, but is that a possibility? Yes, but I doubt it. I'm not so confident in that. Just the way you described it, where it started as one, it kind of rose up. I mean, that first part of the description reminded me of Chinese lanterns, but they're usually more noticeable. They don't split. Obviously, they don't split until they burn up the bag, and then you get pieces of the bag, flying. But that's brief. So I don't think it was that. The fact that it went on for about 45 minutes or so leads me still to believe it's the spotlights. When it comes to MUFON, like they're a group that usually takes in reports. They don't always investigate a lot, and they might do a cursory search where they just look to see if there's any other reports in the area. But basically, you submit a report, and that's about it. They don't investigate every single report. It'd be nice, but your report is probably on their database now, and that's about it. But just again, I'm talking a lot, but I'm trying to factor in anything else that I can't think of. But my first impression would be it's probably these spotlights that were being used, given the holiday, given the amount of time that they were there. And it doesn't sound like they went anywhere else. They were kind of just in one area. So that leads me to that for now. Until I get more information, that's what I would go with. And it's just speculative right now.
Right.
I don't have any other information.
Follow that up. This is almost like classic case of sounds like BS, but I did record it. I was on my old iPhone, and that I smashed it. Like I got angry one day, and I threw it against the wall 6 times. Like I got into an argument with the person, and that phone was...
Everyone watching this should be shaking their head and just
also I had recorded it on, of all things, Snapchat. So I was sending snaps to people while it was happening, and that doesn't save, at least not for us. Like it maybe Snapchat has like this database where I could, seek the video out. But those are the two things. I still have the smashed phone upstairs for that. And this has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. But
your smashed phone has a memory card in it.
Right. That's why
memory card or
memory card and hard drive. Yeah.
So it's up in a drawer somewhere.
Break it out, brother. Let's do it.
Let's go. Come on.
You don't have to get it fixed. I have the data recovery piece right here. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
To do that. But that's something that's always bothered me, because it was like intense, and there was 3 other people, and we're just watching it, and I was getting little excerpts of film on it, but I was sending it to my friend who's like super into aliens and stuff. I was like, dude, check this out. And then, she watched it, and it was like a thing. But, I have reservations. I am a critical thinker. I want to believe, I'm very Mulder in that sense, in that regard. But I don't take everything for fact. And, just because I witnessed that doesn't mean that I saw anything unique or special. And I just wanted to take that opportunity to run that by you to see your opinion.
I mean, I can relate, because I want to believe too. I mean, I think when you get into people that are like me, that come from a more skeptical side of it, there's nothing more. There's nothing we want more to just actually see a ghost or actually see a UFO. Well, it would be an IFO once we identified it, but or see a Bigfoot. Like, we want to see the real thing, but that is why we're so anal about critical thinking, about a proper investigation, about details, about making sure you got what you think you got. Because I'm not going to present something that's... Are you allowed to curse on this show?
Yeah, we don't.
Okay. Just making sure.
Have any restrictions at all?
All right.
Yep.
So you don't want to bullshit people. You want to be honest, as honest as you can, and you want to be able to present something that's not crap. You want to be able to say, "Hey, I'm presenting this. I tested this as much as I possibly could. I sent it out to academics, to scientists, to get their opinions on this, and this piece right here is solid evidence, solid data for the existence of whatever, fill in X. Until that time, you don't want to do that. You want to question it. That's why we question. That's why we don't accept things at face value. That's why we question the shit out of things, because we want to know. We want to know how did you get this? Where were you? What were you doing at the time? Were you paying attention? Well, what kind of phone did you use? Is it broken? Can we fix it? Does he have the stuff to fix it? Let's fix it. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So I can relate. I mean, I really want to see a ghost. I continue to do this. I mean, I've been doing this since the early 90s. And I still go out now with ghost hunting teams, with paranormal teams, with amateurs, with TV celebrities. I go out with all of them when they tell me that, yeah, you're going to see a ghost, or you're going to see the amazing activity. You're going to see this, this place has so much activity. You're going to be a believer when you walk out. I'm game. Let's go. But it fails. It always seems to fail because the evidence isn't there. The data isn't there. And when I talk about evidence and data, I want scientific scrutiny. I want to have proper controls in place. I want to know that if you're recording audio sounds, are you recording audio sounds in like a quiet area, or is there outside noises? Or are you getting contamination from outside, or the floor below, the floor above? Or other investigators or ghost hunters just walking around doing whatever they want to do? And now you're presenting me an audio clip of voices, of mysterious voices that are not mysterious because there's other freaking people around you that we're talking. That's why skepticism is a good tool. It is a essential tool when you're doing any kind of investigation in paranormal claims.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
100%. And so I guess before we get going here in a couple of minutes, I want to ask you, based on everything that you just said, and I think the easier way to go about it would be to, make it like about a Bigfoot or an alien. But I'm going to challenge you a little bit, and we'll do the ghost instead, because I think that would be a little more difficult. What is sufficient evidence for you to, I don't know, accept that you may have experienced something like that? Like,
so this definitely a question I get asked a lot. And
Come on.
It's a difficult question to answer, because I mean, for a ghost, first of all, the term ghost is a very wide net. Okay. What is a ghost? What is it?
Band.
It's a what?
A band.
It's a band. Okay. Okay. Now it's a wider net. So, I mean, people call a mysterious voice a ghost. People call knocking sounds a ghost. People call transparent figures a ghost. People call cold spots a ghost. So there's so many things. So to me, if we're talking classic, transparent, or even not transparent, I don't know why they got to be transparent, but someone that we know is dead pops back in front of me. I'd like them to sit here across from my desk, on the other side of my desk. I want to be able to go up and poke them and see if they're solid, talk to them, verify some information from them, and then maybe do some environmental tests, like what's going on around them, as they sit in a chair across from me. What's going on? Is there temperature difference? Is there some kind of difference in the electromagnetic field? Is there light differences? Are they emitting heat, or are they not? Or are they absorbing heat? Anything else? Like, let's see why is that being different than me? I want to know. So yeah, it would have to be, basically it comes down to, if ghosts exist, I would like one to submit to being a lab rat. Basically, I'll be gentle. and kind and delicate.
Do they have to sign an agreement
If they can, if they
with the
can pick up
ghost pen?
yes, but like something like that. That's what we're talking about. All of these other things we see on like the TV shows where the knocking sounds that happen in the distance, voices that appear on recorders or on the broken radios, which are total bullshit. I just got to say that every time. It's broken radios. Oh, let me ask a radio that receives every transmission that we put out. Let me see if I can get an answer. Of course you are. Duh. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see balls of light on your photo. I don't want to see misty forms. And that's something that pissed me off. Just knowing the history of paranormal research, where ectoplasm went from a mucousy substance that was produced through the orifices of the medium, and now it's smoke.
Yeah,
it's white smoke in your photograph.
fog,
I mean,
yeah, it's like fog or smoke. Yeah,
And
that's horrible.
even though the harder one to do there with the vomit stuff coming out of a medium, I think that was pretty handily called out as fake.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have some.
Medium fake. You have
I have ectoplasm
in a
like
bucket.
well, part of it's in the box. So I have a piece of it, a chunk of it that's from a medium that was tested in Canada. So I have a chunk of that, and I made my own. So I was able to figure out what was being made, how they were making it. What?
You made your own puke?
Well, no, and it's not puke. It's egg whites and cheesecloth.
Close enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's disgusting. It smells awful. I got yelled at when I made it because I made it here.
Oh. Just ammonia reeking through.
It's just, the cool thing about my job is that you never know what we're going to do every day. And everyone here is pretty much, they're cool with it. So if I have experiments I want to do, if I have videos I want to create to replicate someone's ghost or poltergeist video or something like that, everyone is game. Like I always have volunteers, especially when it involves like throwing or dropping things on me. They love doing that kind of stuff. But making the ectoplasm was not a popular choice.
Guys, it's okay. It's just mustard gas.
It's all right. It's just a little slimy.
Well, we are nearing the end of the show here, and I always like to give our guests the final couple of moments to promote, advertise, get your stuff out there. So you can go ahead right now, and if there's any links that you have, books that you've written, you can go ahead and promote them, and then I will add that to every description that I write for this episode. Send me links, and I will put every single link that you have in the description so that it's just there and available for everybody.
Oh, cool. So it's pretty easy. I mean, if you want to see most of my work, where I write articles for Skeptical Inquirer magazine. I also write or produce videos for them. So all of that, inquirer.org. And then if you search for my name, Kenny Biddle, Biddle, you'll find my page, my author's page, and all of my work is there. If you want to find me on social media, I'm on Facebook at I am Kenny Biddle. That's the page that I run from there. And every Friday night, I do a live 2-hour show called the Skeptical Help Bar, which is streamed to Facebook page and also my YouTube channel, which is under my name, Kenny Biddle. So you can find me there. That is a combination of, it's basically set in a bar here, but we drink. And sometimes I have a guest on and they drink. But we also go through their expertise, like their background. Why are they on? I usually have people from science or skepticism to talk about their specialty and their area of expertise. When I don't have a guest, I do what's called an open mic night, where I sit here like this and everyone gets to ask questions. and it's a learning show. So I'll have Google up. We will, if I don't know the answer to it, I will Google it. We'll look it up together. I share the screen. We learn about something, and then we give opinions. It's a real fun show. I love doing it. And then pretty much any other events that you want to see me at, you can find either on Skeptical Inquirer or on the Western New York CFI page, which I believe is centerforinquiry.org/Western New York. And that's the branch of CFI that works out of this building. Like, for instance, this Friday, we're doing a winter solstice party. So it's going to be fun. It's great. It's catered. We're going to have activities. People do some talks. I'm going to talk. Activity.
Go Bills.
Yeah. Oh my, that's a big part. I'm a transplant. I come from Philly. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. Came up here. Whatever.
I'm from Pittsburgh.
Whatever.
Also from Pittsburgh. I live in Cleveland, but I'm a Bills
double
fan,
boo
so.
there.
We moved up here. My wife and I moved up here a little over a year ago, and it's amazing. Like, I'm not in the sports at all. I'm a total comic book nerd. My wife is in the sports, but even she was surprised about how into the Bills everyone here is. They have stores dedicated just.
It's a religion.
It is. There's shit on everyone's lawn.
Well, even the emotional investment that people put into the Bills, people will stay at home, watch the Bills on Sunday, and they will bawl their eyes out, even if they win.
Yes. It's weird.
It's a religious investment.
Let's hope that our listeners take that same principle of religious investment.
Go Bills.
And apply that to Kenny's work. Reach out, support our guests. I always encourage it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kenny, thank you for coming on. This was really fun. We didn't fight.
It's
we
super
didn't
fun.
get into
No,
any
we did not.
arguments.
Not yet. When we turn this off, we're gonna fight.
Okay.
I don't know if that is a surprise to you or not, but this is a lot of fun. I want to thank you for your time.
Cool. You're welcome.
We have an outro button. I'm going to go ahead and hit it, and we'll just have to grab you for just a couple more minutes afterwards. But again, thank you. Just want to remind everybody, this is the second of 3 episodes this week. Our next episode after this will be the live Friday night episode, which we are doing on the Mothman, December 15th, on the anniversary of the bridge collapse. So everybody, look for us there, and
at the bridge.
John's gonna jump off of it.
I've just been waiting. This is my chance.
Yeah.
It's not
Don't tell HR.
Okay.
Yeah.